Lifestyle Screens Track Assembly and Installation. In this video, we're going to show you how to assemble and install the Lifestyle Screen Track. First, take the magnetic striker plate and apply it to the door in the orientation as seen here. Apply these magnetic striker plates to each magnet on the door. Next, you will place the screen door into the garage door opening. Carry the screen door to the door opening as you see here. While holding the screen door against the garage door opening, you'll need to center the door equally in between the two garage door tracks. Once you're satisfied that the door is centered in the garage door opening, you'll need to affix the magnetic striker plates to the header to hold the screen door to the door opening. Use the included drywall screws to affix the plates to the wall. Be sure not to over-tighten these screws and bend the plates. Repeat this for the other plate. Now you'll begin the assembly of the track. This is the vertical track. The vertical track is in the track box. It is the shorter of the two sets of tracks that are in the box. Place the vertical tracks on the table. As you can see, the left-hand vertical and the right-hand vertical are on the table together. The top of the left-hand vertical and the bottom of the right-hand vertical are shown at the same end. The right-hand vertical needs to be flipped end for end. The easiest way to tell which end of the vertical you have is to look for the knockout for the photo eyes. The knockout for the photo eyes is always on the bottom end of the vertical. Flip the right-hand vertical end for end. Now the top of both verticals should be as seen here. Looking back to the hardware box contents, you will need to retrieve the tight radius curves. Additionally, you will need to open the track bag for the hardware that is used for this step. Start by opening the track bag. Empty the contents and locate the two 1-inch long track bolts that are in the bag. Set these aside as they are used later on in this assembly step. Now gather 4 of the 5/8" long track bolts and 4 of the serrated flange nuts to attach the tight radius curves to the vertical tracks. Place the track bolts in the tracks as seen here. Before fully tightening the fasteners, make sure that the track is resting completely against the inside of the tight radius curve. Assemble the nuts onto the track bolts. Again, be sure that the track is seated completely into the tight radius curve, and then fully tighten the fasteners. Repeat these steps for the left-hand vertical track assembly. Now flip the tracks end for end and remove the knockout from the opposite end of the vertical track. Remove the photo eye brackets from the garage door tracks. Take the right-hand vertical assembly and place it over the bottom roller and hang it on the top roller. The track should not touch the floor. If it does, you'll need to trim the bottom of the vertical track. Now you're going to mark the location of the jamb brackets on the track so that you can assemble those to the vertical track. Take the vertical back to the table and mark the left-hand track. And mark the lower jamb bracket slots as well. Now you're going to assemble the jamb brackets to the track. The jamb brackets are each assembled with a 5/8" long track bolt and a 1/4" serrated flange nut. Hand tighten the nuts, leaving the jamb brackets loose. Repeat this assembly process on the lower jamb brackets. Retrieve the 4 5/16 by 1 5/8" long lag bolts from the track bag. Take the lag bolts in the track assemblies and proceed to assemble them to the lifestyle screen and the jamb. Assemble the verticals onto the lifestyle screen rollers. Position the jamb bracket as you see here and insert a lag screw to securely fasten it to the jamb. Be sure to place the lag screw in the middle of the slot. This ensures maximum assembly flexibility. Repeat the same procedure for the lower jamb bracket. and likewise for the right-hand vertical track assembly. And now from the screen and track box, retrieve the other set of tracks. These will be the lifestyle screen horizontal tracks. Here you see a single punch in the track. This indicates that this is the front of the track. Now the back of the track has 3 punchings in it. These are for back hanging the track. Now you're going to attach the 3-inch sheave to the track. Remember the 2 1-inch long track bolts that you set aside? Well, here's where you're going to use those. Assemble the 2 sheaves in the forwardmost hole of the front end of the track. Be sure to securely tighten these fasteners. Now at the back of each of these tracks, you're going to install the 1/4 inch by 3/4 inch long stop bolts. Be sure to install these bolts from the outside of the track to the inside so they act as an upward travel stop for the door. Again, tighten these bolts securely. Now gather up the rest of the hardware from the track bag, which will be the track bolts and nuts, and take the horizontal tracks to the lifestyle screen for installation. Now with both horizontals in the garage, we're going to do a little measurement and calculating. You're going to measure the distance from the back of the garage door to the lowest point on the drawbar. In this case, it's 5 inches. To this 5-inch dimension, you're going to add 6 inches. This is the approximate distance from the front of the screen door to the bottom of the roller. In addition to this, you're going to have to add 1 inch of gap between the drawbar and the face of the screen door. So let's recap these dimensions. You have 5 inches for the drawbar, 6 inches for the door, and a 1-inch gap between the drawbar and the door. So in this case, you'll need 12 inches of space between the back side of the garage door and the bottom of the horizontal track of the lifestyle screen. All of those dimensions translate into this. Assemble the lifestyle screen horizontal track into the tight radius curve as you see here. Measure 12 inches from the back side of the garage door and place the bottom of the horizontal track at this dimension. If necessary, mark the back hang angle. And using a track bolt and nut, hand tighten the horizontal track to the back hang angle. And at the front of the track, use 2 track bolts and 2 serrated flange hex nuts to hand tighten the track to the tight radius curve. And repeat these steps on the left-hand horizontal. Now tighten the back hang bolt. Now moving forward, check to see that the sheave is tight on the track. Check to see that the track is lined up properly in the tight radius curve and tighten the front 2 bolts and nuts on the horizontal track to the tight radius curve. Tighten the top 2 bolts in the vertical track to the tight radius curve. Tighten the top jamb bracket bolt. Adjust the door at the bottom so the brush seal just touches the jamb. Do not push the door up tight against the jamb and crush the brush seal, as the door will not operate properly. Once you have adjusted the bottom of the door properly, you can tighten the nut on the lower jamb bracket. Repeat this on the left-hand track to complete the track installation.